Hey guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and it is time for another Fairy Tale Fortnight video. Today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on two recent fairy tale films, Into the Woods and Cinderella. Originally I was planning on doing these each as their own blog post review, but I know there were a lot of you on the YouTube channel who had asked for my thoughts when you saw me going to the movies in my vlogs, so I figured I would combine them into one and share them with everybody. So here we go. I'll try to make it fairly brief, but you know me. We'll see if that actually happens. The trailers for both of them will also be linked below, so if you are unfamiliar or you want to see a little bit of what I'm talking about, you can go check those out. And I'm going to start with Into the Woods. This one has gotten really mixed reviews, and I can absolutely see why. I think it's definitely going to be geared to one subset of person, and that is those who like musicals and are familiar with the musical. So there are certainly people, especially that I'd seen online commenting about it, that weren't aware that it was a musical or who had never seen the musical. And I think if you have that familiarity with it going in, you're going to like it a lot more than if you don't. So I saw it with my sister. I have seen the play live in a theater, and she has not and didn't know what it was about. She still enjoyed it, I would say, but I don't think anywhere near she would have if she knew what she was getting herself into. I knew what to expect. So for those who are unfamiliar, it kind of spends the first half of the movie building up the fairy tales that we're all familiar with. And then you think everything's coming to a nice resolution, the big HEA for everyone, and that it's probably going to end there, and it seems complete. Maybe a little cliche, maybe you don't love how some of these characters got their happily ever after, but you're used to the trope, you're used to the format of the fairy tale, and it seems like it's right and it's being wrapped up with a little bow. But it's not. You're only about halfway through the movie at this point, and it spends the second half tearing everything down and kind of undermining all of the things that you thought you knew about these tales. If you don't know you're getting that going in, I think, number one, it will feel really long to you. It can kind of drag at points. And number two, you'll be like, what? Like, did we really just spend all that time getting there only to have it come crashing down? And the answer is yes. So that's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. And if you do want those happily ever afters, you're probably not going to like that aspect of it. Now, that's not to say that nobody gets a happily ever after. It's just that all of the tales, every last one of them, is subverted or turned on its head in some way. There are still good things that come out of it, but it's not what you're expecting to get, I guess. Personally, I like that. Some people will not. I thought the cast was actually pretty fabulous. I was amazed by how well everyone was able to sing. The cast can feel a little unwieldy and maybe not... You know how sometimes when there's a movie with a lot of big names, it can feel like everyone was casted because of their name and not necessarily because of how they fit the character or how they have chemistry with the other characters. It suffers a little bit from that. I mean, there are definitely worse examples of this in the movies, and I think everyone did, carry it off pretty well, but they don't always gel. That works though in this because, as I said, these characters that are being put together that don't have the happily ever afters that you think they're going to, they need to have a little bit of a jarring chemistry. So it kind of works. There are things that I don't love just from the storytelling perspective and that I didn't love in the play either, but they still work. They just make me a little upset. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to go into it specifically, but the baker's wife, her storyline takes a turn that I've never loved. I understand it, I just am not in love with it. But the absolute reason that overrides everything, that is the reason you should see this, is Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep is perfection, always, but especially so in this. She was so amazing as the witch. I can't even... I have goosebumps talking about her. She was so good. The singing was fantastic. Her acting was above and beyond, as it always is with Meryl Streep. She is my idol. She is amazing. I want her gray-blue hair that she had going on, and it was just, she's fantastic. So if for no other reason, see it for Meryl Streep because she's so good. So good. Just understand going in that you're probably not getting what you think you're getting if you're unfamiliar with the play. Now on to Cinderella, which is a very straightforward update of the cartoon. So it's a live action adaptation of Disney's version of Cinderella. There are a lot of nods to the Grimm tale, which is much, much darker than Disney, but it's not a spin on Cinderella. It's not a revelation. Just popped my finger there. It's not a revelation on Cinderella. It's not going to give you things that you're unfamiliar with or weren't expecting. It is the cartoon come to life and expanded. If you go into it thinking that you're going to get some new twist, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you go into it thinking that you're going to get a wholesome family movie, a really solid take on the well-known version of the story, then you'll probably love it. I have seen people complaining about Cinderella's lack of agency and just a general sort of anti-girl power thing, a vibe that they got from the movie. And though I can understand why people feel that way, I think it's a way that they tend to feel about Cinderella in general, no matter the adaptation of it. I think it's easy to think that and see that in Cinderella. There is actually a series of Twitter posts from an author on this subject, Melissa Gray, that was put into a Storify, and I'm going to leave the link to that below because I think she really hit the nail on the head with how I feel about it, and that is that just because Cinderella is taken advantage of, and just because she is kind and tries to stick to that, doesn't mean that she doesn't have agency. It doesn't mean that she's a doormat, and it doesn't mean that she's a milquetoast damsel in distress. I'm not going to turn this into a kind of thesis on Cinderella, but that is not the point of this review or this movie. So we're just gonna set that to the side. Other people have talked about it. It's out there. Research it or talk with me in the comments about it if you really are kind of curious for that. But for the actual movie itself, again, I thought they did a really, really good job of fleshing out the cartoon and having really clever nods to it without being too literal and too hitting you over the head with, hey, this is the Disney cartoon. I mean, it's still completely clear that it is, and the names are there. Like the stepsisters' names, that's not part of the original tale, that's from Disney. And their colors that they wear, things like that. I mean, those are definitely carryovers from the cartoon, but even in kind of subtle ways, they do have those little nods to the movie that just kind of bring back your childhood and make you smile. And there is this theme of having courage and being kind that's repeated multiple times throughout. And I think it can be a little bit of a hot button issue for some people when, especially women, are told to be kind. Be nice, actually, is what tends to kind of set some people off, because it's a lot of times used as a way to shut people down. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, which sure is fine if you're just trying to calmly get along with an acquaintance. But that doesn't allow for discourse. You know, it limits you and it kind of censors you and shuts you down and is a way to gently put someone in their place. So I can understand why some people might have been bothered by that, but the way it's approached, I think, is really nice. It's actually a bold statement to still retain some of your personal warmth and kindness and goodness, even in the face of awful people, which I think has always kind of been at the heart of Cinderella. So it really is. It's open to interpretation and your own personal pet peeves and how you take things, I think, but personally, as someone who can be kind of touchy on these things, I thought they handled it really well. It's a very sweet story, it's very family-friendly and wholesome. Acting from nearly everyone won me over. One of the things that I had talked about in my tea chat recently was the whole idea of Prince Charming and Cinderella not being able to recognize Cinderella and the whole glass slipper thing and just my issues that I had with that, and I thought that they actually did a nice job of kind of explaining that away and not making it that he actually wouldn't recognize Cinderella. That's not how it plays out, so that is good. That's a step in the right direction. Again, there is an overriding reason to see this, in my opinion. I liked it regardless, so if you are a fan of fairy tales, and especially if you like Disney and you want to see live action things like that, you'll still want to see this. But for me, I am a big costume person. I love set design and costume design and makeup design. I really actually pay attention to those things in a movie, and this was excellent. They were just so right in Cinderella. They just were perfectly suited. And if I could just have every single piece of clothing that Cate Blanchett wore in this movie, I could die happy. Costuming was fabulous in this. So I think where we kind of end up on both of these movies is I like them, I recommend them, I think you should see them, but a lot of people had issues with them, so know yourself. If you think you're gonna have issues, don't pay to see it in the theater, which at this point you probably can't because I think they're both out now. So whatever. You know, rent it and have a movie night with friends or something. But I recommend them. But if you know you're gonna have these issues, either rethink whether you want to see them or turn them into a drinking game. If you've seen them, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, what your favorite parts were, who your favorite characters or costumes were, and just chat with me in general. I definitely want to know your thoughts. If you are a Cinderella fan, I do have a giveaway going on of a watercolor Cinderella glass slipper thing that I made. I guess I could show you. Giving away this, painted it, one of you is going to win it. It is international, so those of you that get disappointed when there's a giveaway and you can't even enter, I know that's a bummer, I can't help it. This one, you could win. So I'll leave the link to that below too, but that is all for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and of course, thanks for watching and happy reading!